All right, so it's been a couple days here. Unfortunately, work got busy, so I haven't had a chance to do too much analysis. But we have about an hour left of day one, so I'm going to be going through and doing some analysis on that. So, welcome back to anybody who's watching this, and I'm just going to mute this. I will be back when I have something to say. All right, I'm back seconds later. So, just a small thing, and again, this is right off the start. And starts can get a little crazy, a little hectic because everybody's so amped up. One thing though that I do want to say is with this boat here from Germany, Kolner versus Molsey. Molsey, I think, usually has pretty solid crews. I don't know anything about Kolner. So let's watch Two Seats Blade here. So when we look at this again is about me. Now you'll sort of notice it with most of them, but it's about blade height through the release. This is what I'm talking about, and I've talked about it before. See here, we see Molsey looking pretty nice with the blade height over here. This guy here is not too bad. These guys aren't too bad. This one here, look at this blade, drops down. We can see the angle is different, and watch your drag lines. Boom, 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 boom. Right, all those little pity pats that he's dragging that blade across the water, that's all slowing it down. So this kind of thing right off the start, again, starts can be crazy, starts can be a little hectic. So that's one of the reasons it can be, you can have extra tapping and extra hitting of the blades and the splash of the wash and people rushing through the process. But when we see this here come out and it's not getting the height, that to me is just a lack of attention to detail and not getting enough, I don't want to say enough practice, but it's not really ingraining the stroke properly through the practice. So you're putting in these tens of thousands of practice strokes. Do the right pathing, and this should not really be an issue off the start because you should have the hands going down a proper amount to get enough clearance for the blade so that you don't end up in a situation where you're going to be dragging that blade and unnecessarily slowing down the boat. Okay, we're still near the start. I'm going over to stroke C here in the Molsey boat. I like the way that he brings it in. Look at this. He brings it into a nice, good height here. And then you'll see a nice, distinct, look at that push down. Look at that nice, good clearance, right? So look at that good push down. Definitely gets the blade up. And oh, look at that, up and away from the water. So when we see that kind of push down through the release, that's pretty nice stuff, right? That's a good sort of draw height coming in. He might be able to hang on to it just for a frame longer, but this is pretty solid. And then a nice, good push down to clear it away. And if we watch that at full speed, we're just going to watch him watch through the push down and the extension of the arms. See, boom, nice big push down. Look at that, push down. That's pretty solid. That's a nice extraction. He's actually doing the motion to extract the blade rather than just kind of getting onto that next one and going straight into the feather and rushing up the slide. Right? Take the time to get that blade out of the water properly, and it's going to really send that boat off very, very nicely. And if we compare that to this guy here, we see this one here drops into the lap a little bit more rather than pulling up and then pushing down. Right, so bow seat sort of rowing it down into the lap just a little bit more, whereas stroke seat is really getting that nice full draw. It's going to keep the pressure on the front face of the blade and send the boat off very well. Okay, so now we're closer up to them, but again, we're following up on what I just spoke about. We're going to watch this blade here for stroke seat. And look at this, how it exits the water. Boom, we see basically nice full face extraction. Here, we see this blade feathered over a little bit. We see this one feathered as it's kind of coming out of the water, feathered already. He's holding it just a little bit longer, and boom, look at that, bottom comes up to the top. Bang, right there, right? We see this one here a little bit lower. See, look at this, lays down a little bit. Back here, kind of feathers out and lays down a little bit, but then they bring them up. So these are not bad releases. This crew's not doing too bad. We have a bit of a tap there. But stroke seat, if you ever sees this, freaking know that I think your releases are very, very solid. All right, we're looking at Molsey again here, and look at this. Look at the unity of the blades here, coming back. Right, there's a little disunity here, but that looks like there's almost just one blade shaft and almost one spoon. So that's really, really good unity. Right, same thing. Oh, that's a little bit off, but generally these here. These have been looking pretty. Look at this. This is freaking pretty tight stuff, right? We see a little bit of separation But that is some pretty solid stuff. If we go forward again, we'll see here. This one hopefully is back to what they were doing more. See, that's pretty tight. That's pretty tight. There's a little bit of discrepancy. But these guys are looking very solid. When we look at sort of blade heights through the recovery, this is going to lead to a very, very stable boat. So this is going to really allow you to put power down, straight down the center line of the boat, almost as soon as those blades hit the water. That's going to be really, really solid stuff. So these guys are looking good. I really like looking at this crew actually so far. All right, so looking at the German crew now. As they come up, and again, they're not looking terrible either. So it's not like these guys are a bad crew. But you'll notice when we get to the catch, a lot of times they have more wobble at the catch than Molesey has been seeing. Now, some of that is because these guys are still pushing a little bit harder, trying to keep that rate up. So they're maybe rushing through things a little bit. But when you're trying to keep the rate up, that's where you got to really solidify things. The blade height is not too bad either. They're doing a decent job. But notice here how this boat's now wobbling, right? And as we come up, and what I've talked about before as far as reaching versus pivoting, we're seeing a little bit of that, I think, from Bowseat here and possibly other people. But Bowseat is the one that we can see, so we're going to talk to him. So notice this, as he starts to kind of reach through rather than just pivot, now we'll see this shoulder drop, and then at the same time we see the boat start to drop over to this side. So notice now that the shoulder's going down and the boat starts to tip with it. The more we can keep that body nice over the center line of the boat as we come up, the more that boat is going to remain stable. So again, if he had sort of held his body position here and just focused on the compression of the slide to the heels, to the calves, that's going to be pretty good. Even here's not too bad, right? But now we see the shoulder, boom, 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 going it down. Because that drop of the shoulder as he's reaching between the legs moves the body, moves the weight distribution off the center line and pushes it over this way just a little bit. Now, you can counter that if these guys subsequently drop their hands a little bit to change that weight distribution. But that's asking a lot when you're coming to the catch. Having people in your crew make such a fine adjustment at a point where the boat is going to be so unstable as the catch anyways. So if we can really hold that body, that's going to set them up just a little bit better for stability at the catch. Because if we're getting that even once every 3, 4, 5 strokes, that will sap the speed. And when you're against a crew that's a very solid crew, you don't want to give them any strokes, even if it's only 1 out of every 5, right? If you're giving them 1 out of every 5, that's still going to be 40 strokes over the course of a race, 40 plus strokes over the course of a race. So that's a lot of strokes that you're going to be giving them. So final thought is, I do think Molesey is a very good crew. I would have liked to have seen them maybe get pushed a little bit more just so we could see what they really have in the tanks. But I'm sure that they are happy they did not get pushed more because it lets them just coast through. It's obviously not a coast, but it lets them take it a little bit easier through, and they're not going to really have to tap into those reservoirs to get through this race. We see a little bit of tension here coming through this stroke, just a little bit. So I would relax the shoulder a little bit. Look at the hang on these guys. These guys look like they've got really nice hang, relaxed shoulders. That's going to really let the power transfer here. See, look at this. Legs are virtually done. This is where I'm saying the legs can be bent and the body can be pivoting, but like when the legs are bent, the arms are straight. When the arms are bent, the legs are straight, basically. It's my rule of thumb. Look how close to being done these legs are, and the arms are still just hanging out. So they're getting a lot of pry on the blade. They're getting a lot of weight put back onto, like, weight being the power, the connection on the water, on the front face of those blades. So that's really solid stuff. All right, so this is Club Men's Fours, and I think this is Mercantile versus Tideway Scullers. I think this is Mercantile that we're looking at here. And look at this. This is pretty nice timing coming up. Like, these guys are moving pretty well together through the drive. Look at the look at the hang here. Very nice. Good application of legs. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. And one thing you can really see here as well with these guys is look at how loose the shoulder is in the socket for the most part and how it kind of gets pulled forward, right? We've still got lots of room between there. This guy's maybe a little bit more tense than this guy, but that's pretty nice hang. See, here's where the arms start to bend, and look at where the legs are, right? So now they're going to draw it in. looking very solid. Look at how this shoulder's moving back. That's nice connection on the blade. He's really drawing it. You can see these muscles here, even though it's a little bit blurry. You can see how those muscles are getting nice and engaged. Here it's really stretched out through there to get good connection. And then boom, look at the muscles here getting used as they draw it past the body. And we see these muscles kind of squeezing around that spine, right? That's solid stuff. These guys are doing a really good job of keeping it very long, very smooth, very controlled. Bow seat occasionally goes in. Let's see. Bow seat goes in a little bit early. I've talked about bow seats often going in early as well before. But again, look, nice hang, nice hang. This is looking really good, right? Really, and look at this here, right? So again, if we've got that good full draw and we're using these back muscles, these nice solid back muscles, look at this guy's shoulder, like moving past the torso, right? This one here, it's tough to see because he's wearing white, but you can see that. See here, the shoulder. Look at how the shoulder moves in the socket to move past the torso. Here it's kind of in front, and now boom, it's moving past, right? We're coming back on the blade maybe a little early here, but again, boom, shoulder moves back, right? Good connection. Right? If I was him, I might lay back a little bit more, get a little more lay back, and really use that torso just for another frame or two. But these guys are very solid, right? These guys are very solid. This looks good. And we'll see if we get a good side shot here of Tideway. Tideway usually puts out some good crews as well, so I'm expecting that these guys will be rowing very well also. So for Tideway, this is not a terrible extraction. And as I've said before, I tend to think the stroke sets up, everything starts with your release, right? If you get a good release process, you set yourself up very well for the pivoting out of bow, your approach to the catch, setting the stability, enabling yourself to have really good timing on the blade and time for placement on the blade as you get to the catch, and then really applying power quickly. If you don't come out as effectively as you could, you're going to be kind of fighting to find that balance point through part of your recovery, if not all of your recovery. So the more we can stabilize that right from the moment of extraction and feather, the better off we will be. Now, this is not terrible, as I said. See, we see pretty much full face blade, but then do we see the bottom really come all the way up to the top? No, it doesn't fully drop down to the water, but they're close to the water. They're close enough that you can risk those taps. You're going to have to change the hand heights as you come into the catch, meaning you're going to have to push the handles down to get the blades up off the water to have room to get that full square. So while it's not terrible because they're actually doing close to enough push down, I would encourage them to push down probably another half inch to 3/4 of an inch, feather at that point of maximum push down. That'll keep the blades up off the water a little bit. It's going to keep the boat nice and stable. It's going to get you out of the danger zone, right? It's going to get you out of the danger zone because when you tap, you're slowing down. When you have to change the hand heights, you're going to be slowing down. You're going to cause vertical oscillation rather than horizontal propulsion. So that's what I would say for these guys here. And you'll notice as we watch this, I'll just mute it. We're going to see a bit of tapping, right? A little bit of dragging the blades occasionally. See there? Tap, tap, right? Just a little bit. Not much, but just a little bit. And again, over the course of 2,100 strokes, whatever you're doing, 2,000, 2,100 strokes, they all add up, right? Little bits add up. That little extra push down as you're coming into the catch, you have to drop the hands. That's going to slow the boat down just a little bit. You're going to miss the catch just a little bit, right? Those little bits add up, right? It's always the little differences make a big difference. That's why you can get two crews that both look pretty good and be physically very similar, but one crew will win with a pretty decent margin. It's not because they're better, like they're hugely better on all the strokes. It's because they're very marginally better on all of the strokes. And those little margins pretty soon add up to big pages. Look at this though, tight race right down to the wire. Freaking good job by Tideway. Like I said, Tideway generally turns out good crews, so I did not expect them to be rowed over. Basically, they did a good job. They hung in there and they made it very exciting near the end. again, I think if they get a little bit more send off that release, they get it just a little bit cleaner, I think they might have had enough to win this race. All right, we're up to the Folly Challenge Cup. Junior men's quad sculls. We've got a Swiss crew here from Zurich and Tideway Sculling School. We'll see how it goes. This here is something that I will probably talk about a little bit. I might even touch on it actually right now. I don't like seeing this, and again, I've just seen this start now, like microseconds before I started talking, where we see the tips of the blades at different angles through the recovery, and you see it on a lot of crews, and this actually comes not too bad by the time it enters the water. They're pretty together. But a lot of times you'll see one or two blades sticking way out further or way in further. And this is something that I think people should be very cognizant of, because it's something that can indicate maybe somebody's reaching for more, so their blade gets pushed back. Maybe somebody's not getting enough compression, so their blade doesn't go far enough back. And sometimes they're compressing at the same amount as other people, and they are getting a good amount of pivot, so they're in a good position, but we still see blade discrepancies, in which case it is more of a rigging issue, where perhaps the angles are not set properly on the equipment for the particular athletes. Now that is something that I'm okay with, but I am not great with adjusting that. So if it was me and I saw a crew that I was coaching that constantly had issues like this, and I'd addressed the physical stuff, and my people had worked on it, and we felt pretty solid that the angles of their body were actually in alignment, but we were seeing discrepancies here, I would really try to hunt somebody down who was very good with rigging and find out a way to bring those blades into alignment. Because if you can align those blades with the angles that they hit the catch and angles that they extract from the release, you're going to get better application of power, unified application of power, that is. Okay, so I've said before how stroke seat can be late on a catch, and I think this is sort of an example of that. So we're looking at stroke seat and 3 seat here. And as we come up, we see we're going to go to that point of maximum compression. And point of maximum compression is basically here, okay? Right there. We're not seeing much more compression from 3 seat. Okay, now 3 seat might be rushing up just a touch, but what we see from him is, as he still comes up, watching his blade, the blade is dropping into the water, right? We see it drop there as he's still compressing. We look at the blade, he's still compressing, and he's moving that blade directly into the catch, which is good because he's not going to miss it. And we see that he's actually the first person in here. And I say first person, I think bow seat on the far side might be ahead of him a little bit, but who knows. But then we're going to look at stroke seat. And we come up here, and where's the blade here? Point of maximum compression is there. So notice we don't see very much movement, not nearly as much as with 3 seat, and now the blade starts to go in where there hasn't been any change. There hasn't been any change on the shins, right? We're not seeing those shins change, meaning he's just sitting at the catch now. So he gets there, and even though he's the stroke seat setting the rhythm, because he's just sitting there putting the blade in a little more slowly, he ends up going in after 3 seat. So 3 seat, while he might have rushed the slide just a fraction, he's spending less time just sitting there than stroke seat. So stroke seat was late on that one. So even though you would say, hey, 3 seat, make sure you're not going in before stroke seat. Stroke seat should look at himself and say, am I actually getting that blade in on time, right? And as coaches, we need to probably be more diligent about calling out our stroke seats because we tend to just look at the other blades and say, are they going in ahead of stroke seat? Rather than, is stroke seat getting there and then delaying the entry, and everybody else then ends up having to second guess themselves about when that timing exactly is, right? This isn't crazy off, but it's more off than I would like to see, right? It's more off than I would like to see. And then when we look at, finally all the blades are buried, but look at this, we still have pretty decent compression. So we're still getting pretty good application of the legs, but it could definitely be a little bit better. We see blade depth going deep here. Water's coming up the shaft. We've got drag through the water. That's going to sap some of the speed. And like I say, those things just add up. But the main point of that was just looking at the very, very slight difference in what can make stroke seat a little bit late. Even though it looks like 3-seat is going in early, it's actually maybe stroke seat not going in at the proper time. All right, so I'm going to look at 2-seat here, and we're going to come up. So there's some things that I'm going to talk about that I think he's doing very well. One thing that he's not doing as well, but one thing that I think he does really well. I think when he takes his catch here, notice how the body lifts up, right? The shoulders are lifting up here. Here, I would like to see the shoulder more stable. Keep the eyes up. Keep that eye line up. Don't let the head drop down. And this is what tends to happen a lot of times when those heads drop down. It tends to take the body forward, and then we lift it into the catch. Not always, but to me, never let the head or the eyes go down. Head up, eyes up, boom, right? It's going to keep the body nice and tall. Now, so what you want is more of those marionette strings up to God, right? So when you get to the catch, God just gives a little yank on it, the hand moves straight up, and we just have a hinge here where it's like a door. A door swings on the hinge. The door frame doesn't move back and forth as you open and close that door. The door frame, which would be his body here, stays the same, and the door would just swing around that hinge. Right, that's kind of what we want. Just boink, lift the hands, place the blade, keep the head up, and then the body up. Now, what we see though that he's doing good here is he locks it in, and boom, look at that look at the body angle here through the first part of the push. Right, no real change in that angle. So this is the angle he should be with. Right, this is the angle that his body should take that catch, not this angle here, because this again to me is more the head drops, the body drops along with it. Right, and then he has to lift the shoulders to get back to a strong position. But once he's here, frick, this is solid. Boom, boom, boom. Look at that. The body doesn't move. Good power application from the legs to the blade. Nice arm hang, really relaxed in the shoulder. And now he can just lay back against it. Probably starts the arms a little earlier than I would like. But what I really wanted to focus on, and here we can see how the shoulders don't really move back. So I think he's got more power there. But thing that is very, very solid, and this is hard to do. This is hard to do, is to really hold that body angle without any real movement. This is very solid stuff by 2-seat. See, compare it to stroke here. We see opening, right? We see some opening. We see some opening. We see freaking very rock solid. This is good stuff, right? That's a very, very connected stroke to the end of the blade. Okay, so we're looking at this crew back here from Switzerland. And we're looking through the recovery. Look at how the blades, we've got 3 that are pretty similar, 1 sticking way up. Right? We don't want that disparate height on these recoveries. Because that means then, again, that number one, we're having different amounts through the extraction and the recovery process. But as we approach the catch, we have to make more adjustments as well to get those blades into alignment. So that's a lot of vertical motion that's going to upset the stability of the boat, and it's going to upset the speed of the boat over time. I wish we had a more side view where I could look at them better, but that's something that just really sort of jumps out, is how much those blades are traveling on different paths through the recovery. All right, so we're a little closer up here. We got this here. Watch the blades. Look at how much separation we get there between those blades. These hands here are way down. These hands here are way up, which means that we're going to have a little bit of instability. We watch. Oh, we're going to mute this. And then again, we do our next extraction. And look at the differences that we see here. Look at this, right? Just flopping down. Those ones came up a little bit better, but look at all the difference in heights. And just that little bit of, see, here we go again, right? Look at this, right? Look at how much that is off compared to each other, right? Very different levels. And this is almost every stroke we're seeing this kind of thing. And again, it's not like they're a bunch of novices. It's not like they're absolutely atrocious, but is this as tight as it needs to be if you want to be looking to win something like a Henley, where crews are coming from all over the world and everybody is pretty good, right? These are the kind of, look at this, again, boom, almost every time. And that's just, it's more motion going up and down. It's disunified power, right? It's just, It's disparate amounts of push down. It's not setting everything the exact same, right? And everybody in there needs to be a carbon copy of everybody else in there. The more you become that carbon copy, the more you unify everything, the better it's going to be. This is why crew boats are a challenge. This is why crew boats are tough, right? Everybody in there has to be working together. And if you have if you have one or two guys that are out of sync, that can blow it for you, right? One of my old coaches used to say one guy can't win a race for you, but one guy can sure as hell lose it. And that is accurate, because you will be facing other crews that have no guys that are out of sync. They will be sharp. So you also have to be sharp. And if somebody's not doing it, you got to coach them up, or you got to replace them, something. You have to find some way to do it. And again, you do the best you can oftentimes. But see, this is a continuous thing almost every single stroke. And when we're seeing that, that's just something that's a red flag. We're going to see how that compounds over the course of a whole race, right? It's death by 1,000 cuts. All right, I've talked about this before. So I think this is Southampton, I think they said. And that's Laga over there. If it's not Southampton, I apologize. I'm sure I will hear them comment on it later. This is what I'm talking about, is where do we place those hands on the handle? Okay. Now, if we look at this guy here, 4-seat, look at how far down his hand is here, and subsequently this arm is super bent by the time he gets there. This guy also needs to pivot over more, sit more on the sit bones, get a good forward body angle. This guy's very off his things. Look at this angle here, right? So we see a lot of disparate sort of body positioning here that is an issue. Now we're back to 4-seat. Sorry, I just couldn't help myself from talking about that. This guy needs to sit up so bad. Anyway, look at this bent arm. That's like almost a 90-degree bend. Okay, so now when this blade gets put in, watch what happens with this arm. He places it in, and now number one, he's opening with the body very early. But look at this. There's no connection on that inside arm. Through all of this here, there's no connection there. So there's no power coming from this side of the body. Okay, until that arm straightens out here, and now that's applied. We've still got this much leg. We're already at the layback position. Look at this sort of rounding, shrugging of the shoulder here. Very round in the back. Oh my God, look at that. Sitting way back, it looks like, on the sit bones. This is a very, very weak position, I think, for him. But back to this. There's no connection. No connection on this arm until about here, right? So why not move this hand out, lengthen that arm, because this guy looks like he's tall. This guy looks like he's got huge, long limbs, which would be a fantastic asset in this sport. Move that arm out, stay tall, boom, straighten that arm. Get the connection from this side of the body right here, like right from the moment, boom, that blade hits the water. That arm straight, and you're connected, pressing, and getting that connection, right? So that is something that I hate seeing. It's something that's so easy to remedy. Just move that hand down. Get out further from that fulcrum. Just think of it as that pry bar, right? That crowbar. You're going to set it way out there. You're going to grab as close to the end as possible. You pull on it, and you'll be able to bust open all sorts of things with that, because there's going to be so much force at the point where it connects to whatever it is you're trying to pry. In the case of this boat, you're trying to pry the boat past the blades. So move that hand out, lengthen that, get the instant connection, and apply that power. Because right now it's not doing anything. It's a massive loss of power. Massive loss of power. But we can see there's a lot of physical, positional issues. I'm not going to say physical. Positional issues here that we would want to sort out, to unify the power, and to really put people in the best position to apply the force to the end of the blade. Because when we have these positions where like bodies are getting rounded, things are tense, we're at different points of layback or forward pivot, if we're not sitting properly on the seat, etc., we're going to be sapping that power. We can put down so much force on that foot plate, we can press so hard, but if we're doing things that are sapping it and absorbing that power before it has the chance to actually get out to the front face of the blade and really move the boat by, then why are we working so hard? Right? Why work that hard if you're not going to actually put the force on the end of the blade? So you want to really be as efficient as possible to make it work. Okay, so we're going to look at the Laga crew, and I don't like seeing this. We see different heights here, but what they do well is look at the timing at entry. Like, that's pretty unified getting in there, especially from being so off of each other through these. See, look at this here. I don't like seeing that. But it seems like the people are getting them in at the same time, which is very impressive. But I still would like to see them a little bit more unified here. It's just going to keep that motion, things moving a little more horizontally than vertically, right? So there's still speed for them to get. However fast they're going, there's still speed for them to get. And then look at this. Like, oh, that timing there is off. That timing wasn't as good. But for the most part, they actually do a pretty good job of staying in time here. I think, though, that you are at risk. If you don't have those blades at the same height, you're at heightened risk of losing that timing. Just because everybody has to travel different distances, right? The more people can be the same, the better it's going to be. All right, so this is Laga coming past us. And what we're going to look at here is, notice sort of positionally, look at the tension in this shoulder here, right? There's a lot of tightness here. That's coming up very close to the ear. So that's a lot of pull rather than relaxed and drawing it through with these nice big lower back muscles. However, having said that, when he draws it in, he is using those upper back muscles. Look at the extension he gets on the shoulder. So he is bringing that through, but I think he could get more if he relaxed it a little, still continued to use these, drawing it back. But that would also allow some of these lower muscles to get involved in a little bit bigger fashion than they are right now. This guy, I think, could lay back a little bit more. We see here, again, same thing, a little tension in the shoulders as we're taking it. But these guys do a pretty good job of moving that shoulder past the torso. We can see how these backs are squeezing around, right? Same thing up here. We see these backs squeezing around a little bit, right? So this guy comes in. It's tougher to see because he's close. I think he is doing a decent job, but I think he needs to sit taller because it looks like his back is a little bit round, which is going to sap some of that as well. We'll just come by here, see if we get a better view. See, look at how round he is. I think he should try to push that spine towards the sternum, the belly button there a little bit more. But we can see that gets past, right? That is moving past. But he's going to get better connection, I think, if he holds that body just a little bit stronger. So these guys definitely are looking solid. I don't know if they would be my favorites for the Temple. I think this is the Temple Challenge Cup. So I don't know if they would be my favorites, but they are looking solid. They are definitely a solid crew, but I think there's areas they could still get some speed that they could access just to solidify, make that boat more solid in the cores, in the body positions. And again, if we watch this, look at 2 and 3. See how their bodies aren't really moving in sync, right? Whereas we look at other people here that are more in sync, right? So we just have those little discrepancies. Right? And I'd like to see them tighten it up. I think they could just get a little bit more push off it if they did. See, when I said I wish they would tighten it up, right? And tighten doesn't mean tense. Tighten just means everything locked in. Everything's really precise. Everything is fitting like, precision fits. Everything is moving together. Because look at this here extraction, right? Look at how these blades drop down to the water. Look at 2 Seeds blade here. He starts a decent extraction. He's away from the water and then plunk back on the water, slap, right? Slappity slap, no good. It's a loss of speed. And this is when they're in almost cruise control mode. Again, we see that difference in heights there. See, their timing was good earlier, but it's not as tight now. Again, boom, look at 2 Seed, right? Blade extracts, kind of, but does he keep it off the water? Splat, nope, he doesn't. We look at the blades ahead of him on this side. They come out because they're not away from that danger zone. Whackety, whackety, right? The puddles hit those other blades. You have to go through. That's all going to sap some speed. These are small things. It's attention to detail. Make sure that these details are dealt with. Because in the long run, when you come up against juggernauts, you can't have details that are wanting. All right, apropos of nothing, I like this camera angle. I think this is a very dynamic camera angle. I think this is a good exciting angle. I don't like it from a coaching standpoint because you don't really get to see a lot of what's going on, especially with the blades and that. What I do notice, I don't know where these people are, if they've been called to attention or not, but we see blade tips over there that I do not like seeing. So we'll see how this pans out. All right, it's kind of funny because I think that the commentator is actually talking about exactly what I was just going to stop and talk about. If we look at this boat here, and I was looking at stroke seed, that's a pretty nice stroke. Look at how much of those legs are getting involved before the shoulders are passing the hips. Look at the arm hang here, and one thing that's going really well actually that she does is look at this as she comes to the release. Look how open this is. It's kind of tough to see because of the lighting, but let's watch this. We'll go back like 5 seconds here and just watch how she completes the stroke here. Okay, just make sure the thing is off. Okay, here we go. And boom, look at that. Look at this, boom. Shoulders moving past the body. Nice, the forearm looks like an extension of the blade. This is like really solid completion of a stroke. Drawing to the body, not dropping the hands down into the lap. And as we go down the boat, look at the body angle, body angle, body angle, body angle. We're pretty good on these body angles. So far they're rowing pretty nicely together. I haven't seen much as they obviously hit into their body because we're not at their body yet. Meaning the body of the race, not their physical body. So we will see how it progresses. But so far, I'm liking this. Same thing here. We see this elbow here, so that tells me that the shoulder is probably moving back. Pretty nice stuff so far. It's very early in the race. We'll see what happens, but so far they look sharp. Okay, so I'm going to look at the far crew. And again, they're far over. We're just at the beginning. But if we look at the way they go through the stroke here, and this is something that you will see with a lot of, probably more girls' crews than guys' crews, is how they attack the layback and the release. And if you go back and you watch all the years that the U.S. women dominated on the eights, in the international eights, one thing that really stands out to them, for them, over the other crews, is if you look at how they just attack the layback, right, and the draw to the body. It is on a different level than most of the other women's crews there. A lot of people tend to go through, and this is men's and women's crews, but again, it's something we see probably more with women. The mid part of that stroke, that layback, happens because they have to get from the legs to the draw. But the layback itself is oftentimes forgotten. It's not its own phase where people are building that acceleration through it. They're just laying back until they can get going really with the lats and the back and the upper body. But we want to think of that pivot over the hips. That should be a driving force as well. And if we look at this far boat, you'll notice it's just a little soft in there. Okay, so notice how that right there, it just gets kind of softer, and then the snap here of the hands as we draw it in again, but the push of the shoulders over the hips is a little soft. We're not really seeing an aggression through there. And aggression doesn't mean out of control. It just means a building of intensity, right? So that's what we really want, is we really want to have a building of intensity through that mid part of the stroke. And when we compared those two crews off the get-go, this crew here seemed like they just had a little bit more of that to me. Okay, so again, look at the position here. Shoulder, you can tell this shoulder's moved past the torso. It's looking good, right? Here, this one could probably go back a little bit more with maybe a little more layback. This one's pretty good. This one's trying to push that shoulder past. I think she's a little off balance with it. This is pretty good. Pretty good. Look at this. You can see kind of the squeeze around the spine here as we draw it in. Look at this here. Woof, like way back. I think the elbows are dropping a bit. And then she's doing pretty good, right? So this is pretty solid stuff right now. And look at these releases. Look at this. Full face. Boom. I love this. Okay, full face. They get and look at that bottom to the top. Oh my God, this is freaking Nice to see, okay? Full face extraction. This person's a little bit late. That's okay. And then they feather it high. That's going to let those blades clear over the water with nothing hitting them to slow down, right? That's nice stuff. To me, this is a very, very nice, well-coached, well-rowed release. Very good stuff. We are falling forward here, though, as we come up to the catch. Set that body angle for 7-seat. There's probably more people than just 7, but we're going to see here. 7-seat just really jumped out to me seeing her at the edge there. See how the body's falling forward as the knees are coming up. I would say set that body angle first, then compress up. Right? Get that body over the hips, then make the movement up the slide. Pretty nice hang. Sit a little taller. You're going to get better connection on the end of the blade. This is nice and tall, because that's pretty decent arm hang. And again, look how open this is, right? That's a nice, full, complete draw. Okay. Again, I would try to keep the elbows up a little bit more, make the forearm an extension of this blade, relax the shoulder. You're getting good draw, relax the shoulder just a little bit. But this is a pretty solid looking crew. Pretty solid looking crew. Okay, now having just said that they're a solid looking crew, now I'm going to trash something about them. Look at the blade discrepancies on this side here, especially as we come up. See, look at how different they are at the point of extraction through that initial, I'll say, the pivot point. And look at that timing of exit, different angles. So I would like, if it was my team, I would like to go from the side, probably from this side camera angle, sort of see if that's something positionally or if it's something something else, like a timing thing, and tighten that up, because we can't have the blades flopping around like that, right? So I would see kind of who is doing what and where that problem lies, because they're setting so much up well. But look at this, big gap here, these two very close together. So something is going on in there that's causing disunity. And then if we go over to this boat here, see, same thing. We're seeing a lot of misaligned blades through this. Once they're in the water, they're okay. We still see a little bit of a gap there, but then they come out, and then look, see, we've got blade overlaps here, big gap here. Oh, different heights. See, this one here looks like it's in more. Oh, different catch timings. That's all going to make a boat go a little bit slower, right? So they definitely would want to work on some of their blade work to sharpen that up and unify those forces. So again, we come back to Surbiton and we're looking at the catch. Look again, boom, inside elbow, pretty strong bend, inside elbow. Look at the bend on this inside elbow, right? Look at this, taking that catch with the arms a little bit, bend on the inside elbow. That's disconnected power. We could, especially from somebody here who looks like they're pretty big, let that arm hang, right? Hold it further out, straighten that arm, get the connection. Same thing, hold it out. That's going to take some stress off the shoulders. It's going to really let you hang and get very, very good pry. So there's definitely speed still to get in this boat, right? But when I see those inside arms super bent, that tells me that the first part of the stroke is not going to be strong. Here, she's not even letting it straighten out, right? Here, she's keeping it bent through there, which is even worse, because now the tension that you do have on this arm is basically the bicep, and you're going to use a lot of energy doing the bicep, getting no return for it, rather than at least letting it kind of straighten out some and get some connection. See, now look at it in full motion here. Look at how that doesn't look strong, right? It's a weak position. It's a weak position. There's a lot of tension there because these muscles have to take some of the weight, but it's not strong because we're not connected. We're not connected. We're just tensing. We're just tensing this up, if that makes sense. So I would say move that out and really think about getting yourself into a position where this inside arm is much, much longer. Feel that stretch off the shoulder here as you engage, and that means that you're going to be getting that connection. If you're not feeling a real stretch in the shoulders, you're probably not connected. And by the stretch, I mean the stretch across the upper back, right? It's like grabbing the wrist, pulling forward. Grab your own wrist with the other hand. You pull forward, and you're going to feel that stretch across the upper shoulders. That's what it should be when you're through that stroke, because you're just hanging on. Those shoulders are almost going to get pulled forward out of the sockets. Don't worry, they're not going to get out of the sockets, but it's going to kind of feel like that, right? That's going to be a much better connection of pushing that power out to the end of the blade. Okay, so here we are, PE Cup, Junior Men's 8s. We've got a German crew over here. We've got Westminster over here. What I'm looking at is 5-seat here off the start. So I was just talking about where to place hands on the handles to get a good extension. See, look at this guy here. As he comes up to the catch, that inside arm is fully straight, right? This here's a little bent. This guy's straight. And look at how far out his hands kind of are. They're very close together out here, and he's getting a really good connection. So if we just watch him roll away, we'll kind of see what I'm talking about. Notice how close those hands are. So people will go, oh yeah, but that's like way outside the body here. But I don't care, right? To me, get the power to the end of the blade. You can always just, you can deal with the hands being that close together as they come out, because yes, your inside hand is going to be tighter into the body. But big deal, if you've got good blade work, you're going to be able to work with that. You still push down, you still do a nice feather, you still push away, etc. That's not going to be blocked at all. Not at all. But to me, the amount of return you're going to get from that is very solid. And we'll see how this plays out. Generally, I don't know anything about the German crew. Westminster, I think, has put out some decent crews in the past. Oh my god. Oh my god. Look at it, freaking the drag on these blades here. Oh my god, you're killing me. You're killing me. And this, a lot of times, I find is far worse with boys' crews, right? I was talking earlier about how certain things are tend to be worse on girls' crews, but this is something that you tend to see a lot more with guys' crews, because they try to just hammer away at it. And look at this, and this is usually when people are just trying to, to pound. They go deep, right? And look at this, how much drag is on these blades. How much is that slowing the boat down? Right? Keep them shallow. Go full power, absolutely. But don't let them go that deep, right? Don't let them go that deep. See, look at that. Look at how much stuff was here, right? Look at that amount of drag. Shallow them up, you'll go a lot faster. So Westminster right now is looking pretty solid. One thing I would like to see more of, though, here is some straightness and solidity. Some very, very straight, like much more straight on the backs. Right? Sit tall, use those erector muscles alongside the spine, lock it in. That's going to allow that power to transfer better. And if we look down the boat, we see a lot of softness, right? It's not like they're outrageously soft, but see here we've got sort of rounding of the back. That's going to lose some speed. This guy's opening a little bit. That's going to sap some speed. Right, this guy looks like he's probably leaning, like bent over a little bit more as well than we would like to see. So it's just little things like this that are going to connect the blade a little bit better to the water. Okay, so we're going to look a little bit at this German crew back here. And they're actually not looking that bad, right? They're not looking that bad. It's not like they're a bunch of scrubs. See, look at this. The timing is not too bad for both things. The main thing that we're going to see here is some discrepancies in body positions, I'll say through the body, right? Through the recovery especially. So now as they come up, we see these gaps starting to form. So that tells us that positionally, are they holding it over the center line and just kind of rotating around that spine, or are they leaning into their rigor too much? Are they dropping a shoulder? Are they falling away? That's where we're seeing those issues start to pop up. So we can see these guys here sitting up fairly tall. Look at this guy. His body angle is leaning out of the boat now, right? So that's going to affect the stability of the boat, but it's also going to affect his ability to apply power to the end of the blade, because his driving force right now is not going to be straight down the line of the boat. He's going to be almost coming to us rather than down the line of the boat, whereas something like this is going to be more direct application down the hull of the boat. So that's where we're seeing some of the issues from this far boat show up. But if we look at the blade work, they go in together, they come out together. Generally speaking, I think they could maybe be a little higher. Again, we're seeing this swoop catch, which leads to, see how we kind of row it in there in bow seat, rather than being able to really just come up, place it, and go. So this point here where he reaches now, see, there's no real change in his compression, but he should have that blade ready already at this height, and he's now dropping it straight in. But because he had that swoop, it just kind of hangs there a little bit. And it's not just him. Other people have the swoop, and they're all going to be fighting to get that proper catch timing. Every time we see a swoop catch, we're fighting to get that catch timing. And it's wasting time, wasting energy. Right, so they're not, like I say, they're not doing terrible, but we need to make sure that these bodies are in proper alignment down that hull of the boat. So again, we see this guy here looks pretty straight down the line. This guy again has kind of turned his body too much, so he's now pushing out of the boat rather than kind of keeping that alignment right down the hull of the boat. And that over time is going to, look at this, see? Look how he's falling away, right? Or in this case, for him, I think he's falling to his rigger, but falling away out of our vision. So practically, he almost completely disappears. Right? Whereas we've got all these other people here holding that line pretty well. Stroke seat as well, falling away a little bit. And again, falling to his rigger. So see there, that's probably reaching through a little bit too much. And people want to reach because, I just want to make sure I'm recording here. Okay. People want to reach because they want to lengthen out their stroke. But if you have to reach and then your blade skies or you put yourself into a weak position and then you have to bring your body back to get to a strong position, all that extra reach has done is upset the balance of the boat, thrown your weight against the momentum of the boat, and taken time that you could have otherwise spent just placing the blade in the water and taking that next catch and pushing that boat forward. So reaching is a bad thing, and reaching was one of my big issues actually when I was a relatively young rower, because you want to get that length, but it's useless. It's useless length. It's not useful length. So it's better to just keep the body tall, compress, keep a nice forward pivot, but not a bending of the back or a reaching out of the shoulder. So break that habit. Break that habit. Get better connection. Now, again, this is the start, and as I've said before, I'm not one to get too fussed about a bad start. I think bad starts can be overcome pretty easily, and people get way too caught up in, oh, we have to be super, super fast off the start. I think that is a vast overestimation of the importance of a start. The start is just to get the boat going and get everybody into the rhythm, and then the race takes place after the start. So this is just getting up to speed, but off the very first few strokes, watch these blades here and compare them to these blades, and we'll see these ones here tend to wash out more than these ones. So I really like the grab of these blades a little bit more than I like this here, especially off that first stroke. Here we go. Watching these, see how they kind of rip through the water and they push a lot of water off that very first part. Now if we look at these guys, and we see these ones just grab it more. We don't see that bit of a wave being pushed by the blades there. See, so now these guys are locking it in good, but that first stroke was just, it was a washout. Right? That's what I say, bury the blades, make sure they're locked, and make sure you just get connection to get that boat moving effectively and efficiently. Sorry, and this is the Y-Fold Cup. This is London and Halden's, I think it is, from Norway. Okay, so talking about swoop catches, let's look at bow seat in the far boat, the Halden's boat. Notice where his blade is here compared to stroke seats. They're pretty even. Look at this. Look at how much he lifts that blade way up into the air. Right, that is definitely going to upset the balance some. Right? We do not want to see stuff like that because it's just... Oh, now they changed camera angle. Okay, so... There you go. See how he sort of slapped at that one, okay? And he'd actually been doing pretty good. He'd been doing pretty good. So maybe I was, maybe he just had a bad stroke. But this one here, right? See, the blade goes up. It's a bit of a swoop, and then he's like slapping at the water. See, look at this. It sends a big, huge, fiery tidal wave of water, okay? We do not want that. That's not going to do anything to help the boat speed. Here again, we see a person, look at this, distance between ear and shoulder, very, very tight. This is a very hunkered down position. Not super strong. Arm is bent, so we're not going to get instant connection over there. Now it straightens out, and now he's connected. And now he's drawing it into the body. Right, so again, oh, look at that. Arm is bent. Straightens out a bit there. Now he starts drawing it in again. And I think you could lay back a little bit more to lengthen this out. This looks just a little short through the release. There, look at this. Shoulders coming by, so that's not bad. I think this guy could maybe get the back engaged a touch more, but... Oh, sorry, didn't mute it. Don't want to copyright. See, look at that. Disconnect, right? Disconnect on that inside. So we're not getting much there. Halden's still hanging in here, so this looks good. They're pushing hard. That's good. I like this position, right? I think he could compress more to get the shins closer to that 90 degrees. But look at this upright body angle here, right? Very solid. Nice extension here. Again, we talk about lower ribs to the thigh rather than chest on the thigh. This looks like this might be... Oh, no, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I don't know what I was talking about. It's probably just kind of blurry. Couldn't see what was what. But this, I like that position. He's got a good, strong body position. I think here, though, his shoulders are passing the hips too early in the leg drive. I would hang on to that leg drive. Keep the forward pivot here. Let that drive come from the quads and the glutes. Right? Look at how this guy's knees are before his shoulders passing. Look at his knees are, and here's his shoulder passing. So we need to keep those legs engaged a little bit longer, really make sure we isolate it so that we can push that through the hip rather than taking more weight with the upper body. It's going to be stronger. Okay, so just after the start, this is the junior women's quads. Look at how much of this catch right now is being taken by Strokesy with the arms rather than leaving it hanging nice and long for that good connection. We do not want to do that. Don't take it with those arms, right? The arms, especially when you're really cranking it up at the start, there's so much pressure on those small muscles. There's so much weight there. They can't handle it, right? They can't handle it. And again, 2/3 of the way down the course, you're going to really start feeling that lack of energy, the amount of energy that went there to try and hold this arm in a bent position against the force, the driving power of the legs here. You're going to start to feel that energy loss, right? Better just let them hang. Let the arms hang, be relaxed in the shoulder. That's going to be far, far more efficient. And this is the kind of thing that, again, see, notice the tension now that's in the shoulders here. Not so good. This is maybe pulling a little bit early as well. But this is the kind of thing that won't show up right away, right? You'll still move the boat very fast. You'll still be going well. But it's going to pay, or it's going to pay a price later. Okay, you're going to pay a price for this later. Don't do it. Don't sell out at the beginning to bend the arms, because the bent arm is not going to get you any return right now. Just let it hang, right? So I think both these crews right now are not rowing too terribly. One thing I don't like, though, is this. If we look at the catch, notice how long they just kind of hang here. So we look at point of maximum compression, basically there. But now the blades haven't moved at all towards the water. So to me, the blade should already be moving towards the water. But now we go there, 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 there. Look how many frames that kind of took to get in from the point we hit maximum compression. Boom. There's our maximum compression. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 before they're all vanished. Okay, and at that, notice, even though the legs aren't really moving much, so by the time they're vanished, we still have really nice compression. But look at the bodies through that. Look at how much the bodies are moving, right? So there's a lot of upper body motion here through that first part. It's either stationary or upper body moving, and then the legs get involved. Now that's good that the legs get involved once the blades are buried. It's not good that we're just sitting around. That's dead time when the boat is at its slowest point, when the boat has had its acceleration reduced the most because we've brought all of our weight back onto those foot plates. So again, over the course of a race, that kind of hesitation and that kind of allowing the boat to travel at a slower rate of speed will add up. Okay, it's going to take a cumulative toll, and you don't want to let that happen. So I don't know how this other crew is going to do, but I do know that those are things that will not help this boat in pushing away or holding this other crew off. And now they're far away from us, but again, we look at that far crew, and this is a pretty nice push. Look at that. So here, we look at how the shoulder hip angle is. Shoulder hip angle. Shoulder hip angle, this person's a little more upright, but shoulder hip angle. But how much of the leg has gone? So we have really gotten good return on that leg. See, look at this. If we watch the legs, press, 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 the legs are almost down now. And this person's basically straight over. This person's basically straight over. We still got a slight forward pivot. So that's really good use of the legs. And we're seeing arms are holding nice. They're very relaxed. Drawing it in. I'd like to get closer and have a clearer shot to see if they're getting a nice completion to the draw. But so far, I actually don't mind how either of these crews are rowing. If I was this crew, I would have her hold the arms off a little bit more, and I would make sure that the catches are more snappy, right? We don't want to waste that time sitting at the catch. We want to move, bang, right onto that next stroke so we can pick that boat up again with the speed because we've just slowed it down. We want to jump on it, get that speed back up. All right, so I said that I would like to see more of this crew up close to see if they're really completing their release. And here we can see it's okay. The shoulders could definitely move back more. We can engage these back muscles more. We could engage these more. Push that shoulder past the body. Because those are the bigger muscles, right? The bicep, as we've said, not a strong muscle. But these good back muscles here, sit tall, pivot through, and really open that chest. That Superman pose, right? You're tearing open that shirt, shoulders go back, you're showing off the S on the chest, right? That's what we want, that really strong, powerful position where these, the lats, the traps, etc. are all going to be engaged in driving those muscles around the spine. That's going to send that boat off so much better than this. See, we're still hunkered over. This shoulder hasn't really moved back. This shoulder hasn't really moved back to engage these big strong muscles. This is very much a pull to the release rather than a draw to the release from these two here at least. And there again we see similar, right? We come up here, where's point of maximum compression? So point of maximum compression is here for this girl here, but then she goes on. Look at this, look at that, over compressed, right? Going too far, and now we're missing that catch position. So there you go. So all that time, they actually get the blades in at a pretty decent compression amount. Look at this. That's pretty good. But the problem is we spent all the time doing this frame, this frame, this frame, this frame, this frame, this frame, and yeah, to there. All those frames in between here and here are wasted. That's all just dead time because our blades weren't in the water. We could have been accelerating that boat, but no, instead we felt like just coming up and over compressing just because, hey, who doesn't like a good over compression? So I apologize, I can't remember this club's name. I do like their outfits though, but that's all wasted time. Don't do that. You're killing yourself. Just cut that crap out. As soon as your shins hit this point, boom, blades are in, push away. Hit this point, boom, blades in, push away. Everything else is just dead time. Sorry I'm back instantly because I forgot to look at these other two girls go by. See again, over compression here. This girl's got it pretty good. This girl's got the compression pretty decently. But again, over compression. It's no good. It's no good. It's dead time. If you guys weren't over compressing, you'd probably be in the lead right now. Holding the shoulders nicely in front of the hips. Look at that, through most of the drive. I'd say maybe hold off, like just get a little more, because we don't see the legs move a ton. Push the legs down just a touch before we start that pull. And loosen up the shoulders. Relax. Draw through the mid back a little bit more. That's going to be a better connection. Same thing here. Little tightness in the shoulders, and make sure we complete it. Let the shoulder move past, engage the back, because it looks like that's a little bit squared off as well. Just a little bit beside the body rather than past the body. Okay, we're going to go back here. So this is a pretty tight race. This is a very close race. Look at this crew, though, through the release. And boom. Notice how they look kind of short, right? Everything's kind of in front of them rather than drawing to them. That's what we're looking at. It just looks a little short. A little short. See, we could draw, look at this. Sit taller, squeeze those shoulder blades together, move that shoulder past, and draw the handles to the bodies. See, we're cutting it off here in front of the body, which to me I don't like. Right, we want to draw it all the way through. See here, we're getting much more draw to the body with a nice bit of layback, right? Now, I think this crew is actually moving past this crew, but this crew could have more speed still, right? Two seats pulling a little bit with the arms through the stroke as well, so just keep it relaxed, right? Let the hang transfer that power. Look at this. Stroke seat still bending those arms right away. Right away. You're going to pay a price. Remember, 2/3 of the way down, you're going to start feeling it. We're getting to that 2/3 of the way down. All right, this was a very good race. So if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it because it was actually a very exciting race. I do think this crew here probably rows better. I like it's Headington and Putney. They're both pretty good. They're both rowing pretty solid, I thought. But again, there are specific issues that are causing each boat to lose speed. I think these guys here probably rode a little bit better, but they do have extra time at the catch that I don't like because that's just slow. It's dead time. It's dead time. The boat's going slow and you're not putting the blade in to try and reaccelerate it. And then I think they can get more speed off the release as well. So I think those are the two areas that I would work on with them. And then these guys here, you know, same thing, rode pretty well, pretty controlled. We saw some body mechanic issues, just a little bit more than these guys here, but two very good crews going at each other. It was a good race. So this is Godolphin Latimer, I think you said, and this is Shiplake, women's high school 8s. Again, they just called attention. I see all the blades buried here. This is a tough angle because this might be deceiving since we're so high up. But it does look like we have some blades here that are not quite fully buried. So initially, attention to detail marks go to Shiplake. All right, initial thoughts off the start. Let's look at Godolphin Latimer here. Look at bow seat. Its blade angle compared to the other angles in the boat, right? That blade is dragging near the water. Here again, and obviously Forsey was a little off on that last stroke, but again, bow seat dragging on the water there before coming back into alignment. Oh, look again, not an extraction. That's just a lay down on the water. That's not an extraction. So we want to make sure that we are extracting those blades. Push down, clear the blade face, then feather. That's what we want to do. So right now, I think that bow seat probably is a little bit weak in the blade work here. So I would like to see that tighten up. But aside from that, they're both looking pretty solid. They're both looking pretty solid. All right, so we're going to see, this is still very near the start of the race. But we're going to take a look at 3-seat here in the Shiplake boat. Look at this. When we talk extractions, look at this. Full face of the blade, boom, feathers high, and away. You take the catch, and you can see, right? Because the blade is already set, There's no adjustments necessary. Once it's squared, it just can move, boom, straight into that down and to take the catch position. There's no need to change anything. It's all ready to go. Boom. And we see this right now. And this is actually a pretty good job by the whole boat of just coming straight across and then dropping it in rather than seeing any lift of the spoon. Boom. And then we can just jump on it right away. Now we look, full face extraction, feathers high, square, and oh, you dropped the hands a little bit that time. No good, no good. Boo, hiss. But that time there again, look at that, right into the drop down. So that's good. That's pretty good stuff there. So 3 Seat is doing some good work over in that boat. I'm sure other people are as well, but 3 Seat's extractions there just caught my eye. Okay, so we'll, oh, I'm going to go back. So as we come here, we're going to look at the shoulders through this. So we see a fair bit of relaxation here, right? We're not seeing a lot of shoulders really going up super, super tight, right? Look at this. That's pretty nice and relaxed. See, look at that. That keeps it very low, lots of distance between the top of the shoulder, bottom of the ear. See a little bit of tension here on this one. But this looks pretty, see, look at that stroke seat. That looks pretty nice and relaxed through that. Some nice horizontal work. All right, so we're going to look at Godolphin here. And what we're going to look at is the amount. See, look at how collapsed this looks here coming at the hatch. But what we're going to look at is how much body motion there is through the leg drive, right? And this is over compressed as well. Now, while this is going, look at this. We're seeing the body angle and the legs, a huge overlap, right? When the legs are pushing, look at how much these bodies are moving, or how much they're opening, while the legs should be doing the push. So we want to keep that angle. And remember, the first half of that leg drive, till the shins get to kind of 45 degrees, we'll say, or to 90 degrees rather, to 90 degrees, meaning the legs basically here, right? We want that forward body angle to be the same as it is at the catch, okay? Now, some of this, they're actually hitting 45 degrees at a decent catch angle. The problem is, that was the catch angle, but it shouldn't have been. It should have been that more upright angle. Otherwise, it's just a weak position, right? And we're seeing a lot of movement of the body through that leg drive. So that angle tends to change pretty drastically, right, on a number of these people. Some of them do it better than others. See this one here? That's not bad. This person does it not bad. This person's very upright. I actually like this person's positioning. I think it's pretty decent. I think that catch should have been more at the shoulder rather than with the body. But that's not bad. Here we're seeing some more opening as well, right? Look at how much the body is open and we haven't gotten there. And look at where these shins are versus where sort of these shins are. Right? Look at how tight this is in the shoulders. And I'm not saying this to pick on these guys, but I'm just sort of saying, why is one boat here significantly faster than the other? Now, some of it obviously is physicality. Some of it, supposedly this, I think this crew is a young crew. I think they were saying this was the young crew. So these just may be younger girls who haven't developed as much muscularly as the others. But technically, what are we looking at for things that are going to sap speed? These are things that are sapping speed. And we're seeing a number of issues here that are going to slow this boat down and not allow it to attain and maintain the speed that we would want it to have and that we could have if we did those things to a higher level. And this is why I say I think that Ship Lake is almost always very well coached. Look at the timing of the entry here. We look at the bodies. And we see the bodies through that drive move very similar. It's a very unified application. The blades come out together. The blades come up off the water. I think they could probably get just a touch more push down through the release. But again, like, look how unified these blades are. This looks very, very good. We go in, really nice timing. Strong through the drive together. Coming up again, blades pretty darn uniform. So this is some high quality rowing. This is some pretty high quality rowing from Ship Lake. Look at that stuff, right? And we'll see here if they come a little closer, if we can kind of see what's going on. So coming through this part, I'd say, maybe a little bit more relaxation on some of these shoulders. But it's not too bad. It's not too bad. Look at the blades there, right? Nice. Pretty close to full face extraction. This girl in bow seat should have her arm out a little bit more to make her forearm an extension of the blade. But she is getting that shoulder passing the body. We can see that. But notice, because that elbow is really tight to the body, it's very scrunched up there. It's not going to be a natural, really easy flowing kind of feeling, motion. Whereas if you look at something like this, where it's a little bit more out, that's going to be just a little more comfortable biomechanically. So look at these blades again. Very nice. Again, I'd like to see the catches going just a frame or two earlier. But for the most part, this is pretty solid stuff. See, look here. Boom, shoulders going past the body. We can see how the back is getting engaged. This person probably not quite as much past the body. But all in all, pretty solid. Probably leaning a little bit far forward. Maybe leaning a little far forward here. You might want to keep that just a little more upright and a little more squared off. But it's looking very solid. This is looking very solid. Okay, so one thing that I like actually about this Godolphin crew is, despite them having issues, we don't see a lot of grimacing and scrunched up faces. So this tells me that they are staying relaxed as they're rowing, and they're trying to put the energy where it needs to be. That's, into the actual rowing and moving of the boat, rather than into the showing, oh my goodness, I'm in so much pain. This person here, 7 seat, sit tall, stay over center. That's not going to help the balance of the boat. And if we look at these guys here rowing, look at the hull of the boat and how much wobble there is, right? See there, whoa, we had a wobble. Whoa, we had some wobble, right? So we're seeing, whoa, we had a little wobble. Whoa, we had some wobble. So when we see this, especially when we're seeing that wobble as we come to the catch, that tells us that it's an issue of hand heights and bodies over center. If you can keep the bodies over center and you can keep the hand heights level with everybody else, that is going to probably solve 80% of stability issues coming into the catch. Maybe even more, right? So that's what we want. We want to think of, what are we doing with the hands? What are we doing with the bodies as we approach that catch? So number one, we should be relaxing. The closer we get to the catch, the more relaxed we should be. And number two, we need to make sure that we are precise in our motions, and that when we make adjustments, we make small, finessed emotions, or adaptations, right? Adjustments, not emotions, adjustments. We can't let the emotions get the better of us and just charge in there and throw the hands around. So, when we come up here, we need to be thinking, here I'm going to back up because we see some wobbling here. So right here, are the blades all at the same height through the extraction? Well, let's go out and look, and we see the blades here. So these blade angles are not all aligned, right? They're probably not amazingly out of alignment, but they're definitely not aligned. So we need to say, okay, great. How can we align these? We need to put them in a position where they're all going to be the same, and for me, that is that parallel blades to the water. If we have a visual representation that's an actual physical point, it's not just, oh, push down to clear the blade. It's push down, get the blade shaft to parallel to the water, right? We know now what that blade needs to be, and that's going to be for everybody. So now, as we're coming up, see, look at this. Look at the discrepancies here. And if we said that blade needs to be parallel to the water, this blade here, oh look, it's bow seat. The person who off the start was just laying the blade on the water rather than extracting, right? If suddenly, boom, we push that hand down, that's going to be good, because what way does this boat go? Right here. Boom, look at that. It goes down onto port. If this person pushes their hands down, which way will that boat go? That boat's going to come down onto starboard. So right there, this person, I'm going to call this person out right now. This person just made that boat go down to starboard, or down to port. That is primarily this person's fault, right? Everybody has to do their job. So you can't just go through a motion and do it. And now look how much that handle drops. So now that handle's dropping, this spoon is coming up. Okay? And we can see the blade shaft. Where's the blade shaft? There. Oh, look at it suddenly come up. And now the boat comes rocking down onto that side because they just pushed their hands down. And because it was a late adjustment coming into the catch when the boat is the least stable it's going to be, nobody else has time to adjust to that. And now you've had a boat that was put off balance at the release, and boom, it's going off balance now at the catch because of that change of vertical hand height. Can't happen. Can't happen. If you have that stuff happening on a regular basis, that boat is not going to go fast. All right, so this is the Students Cox 4. So we're going to watch, this is London, and that is Oxford Brooks. They're both the B crews. So look at the tension in bow seats outside shoulder here. Look at that right through this. So that's a lot of weight here on the upper, the top of the shoulder rather than the back and the upper shoulder muscles and sort of the upper back muscles, right? Let this hang loose, relax, put that weight on these big strong muscles. Squeeze those shoulder blades together, draw that blade to the body. It's going to get more power to the end of the blade, nicer connection. All right, so this is the Oxford B crew. So we can see some timing issues. Look, we've got the starboard side all in, port side's not. Now bow seat is, and now stroke seat is. So we draw it through. Now we're going to watch stroke seat's blade here as well, and bow seats. Look at how they just lay down on the water. Tappity tap. No good. Right, we're going to look again through the release. And it just comes out. Do we see that full face blade? Nope. They just lay down on the water. Same thing on the far side. Look at that. They just lay down, splat onto the water. See? And there we have this little tap from bow seat. See right here? Comes through. Tap right there. Boom. Here we see little bits. And we can, if we played it, you'd hear little like tap, tap, tap. Right? I'm not going to play it because I don't want to get a copyright strike or anything. See, look at this. No real room. So this here, look at this as he's squaring it. There's zero margin for error when you're that tight to the water. Right? These guys here and these guys need to work together to get that boat nice and stable so we can all push those hands down, get those blades up off the water, and really just lock it in. I mean, they're moving pretty well compared to that other boat, but again, look, difference in catch timing here. Rounded back compared to a much more upright back. This is going to be a little more power sapping through the initial part of the catch. That's not bad though. Shoulder passed, shoulders passed, shoulders passed. This guy's shoulder is not quite as passed, but they're getting pretty good engagement of those back muscles as they draw it in low. Look at that, rowing it in. Oh no, right? Look at that, rowing it in rather than placing it and then driving. So this is, this is the difference between your B and your A crew, right? These guys just not as sharp, not quite as together, not quite as crisp. Look at this, right? Blades very, very low, close to the water. See, look at this drag line there. Not good. But again, they're moving very well, and they're not a bad crew. They're not a bad crew. So when I say, oh, just not very good, understand that is compared to what I would expect from the A crew. They're definitely going to be strong. They're definitely going to be putting the power down. They've got pretty good biomechanics, but the blade work to me should be a lot crisper. And if we had the blade work crisper, and if this guy was sitting up just a little bit taller as well, we'd have better connection. We would have the ability to let that boat glide more and utilize the speed that we give it, rather than putting our blades in positions where they're going to do things that are going to slow that boat down. All right, so I didn't get much chance to talk about London during this race, but we are going to see them come across the line here. And as we watch them come across the line, what we're going to see is how the power application and the acceleration through the drive then is not huge, and let me rephrase this. The way that they take the recovery does not allow the power that they give the boat through the drive to actually move the boat. I'll put it that way. So here they come, and they take a stroke, and then they rush up, take a stroke, rush up, take a stroke, rush up. Now they're sprinting towards the finish, but that looks like a very heavy boat, okay? So if this boat's coming in, this looks like a very kind of chaotic and heavy boat. Lugging it through, right? And that's because there's a lot of rush up to that catch. So they take the stroke here, and then zoom, right? There's no real release process that allows the boat to just maintain that speed. And the boat isn't coming underneath them. They're not drawing that boat underneath them and bringing the catch to them or allowing the catch to approach them. They are chasing up to go get that catch. Now, this is likely because they are, fairly behind, and they're just trying to bring it in strong and, have as good a race as possible. But the problem is, once you start chasing that catch, once you start not allowing the speed you give the boat to move the boat, now you're going to be just slowing yourself down and you start spinning your wheels, right? It's like if you slam on that accelerator, you pop the clutch, well, you're giving it a lot of gas. There's a lot of, power going through that engine. But the wheels don't have the grip to control that power. So they just sit there spinning and spinning and spinning, causing a lot of smoke and revs and noise and, smell and everything else. But the car's not actually moving very fast. Far better that we give it a solid application of gas, ease off the clutch a bit, and let that grab happen. And then once that car starts moving, then we can sort of allow ourselves to really get on the gas. These guys are never really giving that boat a chance to get moving so they can really take that next stroke and fully accelerate it and then just relax coming up the slide. The focus here is more on getting up to take that next stroke rather than having that clean release, getting the hands away, pivoting over the hips, feeling all the tension flow out of the body, and then just coming up to time that catch for the next approach. So again, that just looks like, by the end they were probably just chasing it, trying to bring it in with what they had, and unfortunately I don't think it worked very well for them. So okay, so I think that is the end. That was the last race, so we're through day one, and I'll try to maybe get some more done tonight if I have time. That's going to be starting day 2, and aside from that, then thanks to everybody who gave these videos a watch. I hope you got something out of it.